Producing a song like Lizzy McAlpine is all about balance. At their core, these modern indie folk songs are pop songs, but it brings in these indie and folk textures that just make it all feel really intimate and personal. So today I'm going to break down how I produced Samantha by Victoria Carbol, which was heavily inspired by artists like Lizzy McAlpine and others in this indie folk genre. So let's go to the computer. I'm going to play you a little bit of Victoria's original demo that she sent over to me, just so you can hear what we started with before we even touch the production. So after listening to that, I knew that the acoustic guitars needed to stay, they just needed to be retracked, and I knew a lot of her vocal harmonies and layers that she had in her demo were really cool, and I wanted to have her add more to those ideas. And I also knew that we had to make it feel super personal and emotional, which I'll show you how we did that later. And the final thing is we wanted the song to have a gradual build. So starting at like a 2 energy level and then getting up to like an 8 by the end of the song. That was something that Victoria mentioned to me when we first started working on it. So we kept that in mind as we started working on the production, just so we could make sure that we were hitting that and all the other markers for the song. So first thing we did was retrack those acoustic guitars. We kept the part the same, just cleaned up the playing a bit and double tracked it. So we've got one hard left, one hard right, and we've got a nice room reverb on them, which I put on a lot of tracks in this song just to make everything feel like it was played in that same space, like I mentioned earlier. So already so pretty. Without the reverb, the guitars just feel like a little smaller and drier. And then the room reverb just opens them up. And then the room reverb just like opens them up. And the guitars felt cool, but I didn't feel like it felt personal enough. Like it didn't feel like you were there. So what I did is I added in this drone. It's going through the entire song, literally, and it's just hanging on this one note. And then you pair that with the guitars. Super subtle, but there starts to be like a bed underneath the guitars. And then what I did was I threw in this rain, street, neighborhood medium sound effect. And it just starts to feel like a world. It's like sonic world building, right? Now it feels like, oh my gosh, where am I? And that's really the foundation of the entire track. And then we play with adding little elements part by part to do that build that we were talking about earlier. Kind of the first main element that we introduce halfway through the verse is this really reverby electric guitar layer, just doing a counter melody. And it just is this spacey texture, and then you pair it with everything. And it starts to feel like the feeling of the lyrics a little more. It starts to feel a little more like longing. And then the next thing we introduced production-wise is strings, which I didn't do the strings. My friend Harley did it. If you want to watch his video on how he did the string arrangement, you can watch it here. But let me just play some of the soloed strings. Those strings come in the second half of this verse, just building us up to the chorus. And then you can see they stay throughout the entire song in some variation. But go watch how he did it. I don't know. They're so pretty though. But then you put that with everything, and again, it just starts to feel more emotional. Like seriously, so pretty. I could just listen to this. And then some low end comes in. I introduce a really low synth bass in verse 2, just to give it a nice gut punch. I love the gut punch bass. I love a bass that you feel in your chest. Here's what that sounds like. Sounds kind of goofy on its own, but when we bring everything else in around it, it just feels really satisfying. And those strings, those rhythm strings are so cool. So you can really see every part, we're just adding something else, we're ramping it up. So then halfway through this second verse, I introduce this really light piano. That's just this sound, and Harley's getting more pumped on the strings, and we're building to what you ask, this cool ass bridge. So Victoria and I knew we wanted the bridge to be cool. We kind of went through a few iterations of what it was going to be, but I had this idea that I sent to Harley, which was like a boom, boom. Like I wanted these low hits, and I did not know how to bring that all together. So I said, like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Do your thing, and then I'll work around you. So he nailed it, and once I had this from him, then the rest of the bridge like came together for me so quick. Those hits. And then it follows her vocal melody. And I'll show you what that sounds like with the vocal in 1 second. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. I feel like I'm doing this so much today. I don't know why. So those strings come in, and then we introduce a kick layer, and we introduce a shaker and tambourines and percussion. It all just kind of is building, and then the bridge hits, and it feels so nice. So in the second half of this bridge, we introduce even more claps. Like I said earlier with the guitars, making it feel like everything was played in a room together was really important to me for this song. And so these claps have that same room reverb on them. And so it just feels like guitar, drums, everything is being played in this one space together. It's so nice. So here's some of the percussion by itself. Big stomps, tambourine, just really like bandy feeling. So flipping over to the vocals now, and I did not forget, I will play that bridge part for you in context with her vocal, I promise. But Victoria recorded these vocals remotely in Canada and sent them over to me. She recorded them on a Rode NT1A, I believe, and what I had her do was get a lead that she felt really good with and send me the lead, and then she recreated all the harmonies that she had in her demo and added to it. Let me play you some of that. So here is her isolated lead vocal with all of the processing.
Oh, Samantha, would you have to leave?
So you can hear in her lead there is a lot of reverb and delay. I'm creating a big space for this vocal. I'm going to turn every plugin off this vocal, and you can hear what it sounds like. Completely dry, no processing, no reverb. Here we go.
Oh, Samantha, would you have to leave?
So she nailed the performance. The vibe is so good, but you can tell it's a little roomy and it's a little all over the place in terms of volume. So we had to control that, just make it sound a little bit cleaner. So here it is with all the processing back on.
Oh, Samantha, would you have to leave?
So it just gets rid of some of that roominess, compresses it, brightens it up, just makes it fit a lot better in the context of the song. And then the main thing in terms of effects was this spring reverb, which already starts to give it some of that vibe, and then we have some more reverb and delay that we add in. It just feels so massive. So let's hear that now in the context of the production. I'm going to mute all of the background vocals. And it sounds so good. We wanted the chorus though to feel a little bit fuller. So she added in those harmonies that were in the demo, and I had her double each harmony so we could pan each take and just make this wider wall of sound with the vocals. So good. So cool. And then this moment in between, I love moments like this, like a little vocal ear candy moments. This happens in between the lines. So you can see in this lead, there's all this dead space before the next line starts, which sometimes you need that space, but in this case, we felt like it needed something. So she did an echo of the line, just slightly differently.
Why'd you have to leave?
So she changed the melody and the timing, kept the lyrics the same, and when you play it back, it just feels so satisfying. It feels like it completes the thought.
Why'd you have to leave?
Little moments like that just really help, I think, a song come to life. It's not as cut and dry as like, I did a lead vocal and then did harmonies. Those little moments, I think, just give it a nice little, give it some pizzazz. And we have a bunch of moments like that sprinkled through the rest of the song. So like in verse 2, these little ahs, ha's, ahs. That ascending one transitions us into the chorus, for example. And in chorus 2, the vocal production is kept pretty much the same as chorus 1, but since we added so much production-wise, it didn't feel like it needed more vocals. It felt like there was already a lot more happening, and we didn't want to overcrowd it because we wanted to save some energy for this bridge. So let's listen to just her lead vocal and the production in the bridge.
I've been giving all of me, and now I'm hollow.
So this is where Victoria really popped off with the background vocal. She added so much good stuff, and it all serves the goal, which I talked about earlier, of making this bridge the 8 out of 10 energy moment for the song. So she added in these ha layers, which are almost more of like a rhythm percussion element. Which are super cool, and then paired with the lead vocal.
I've been giving all of me, and now I'm hollow.
So cool. And then I had her do these ahs, kind of like a vocal pad. Just following the chord progression. So let's zoom a little farther in the bridge just so you can hear some other parts. We have these little background vocal moments. That's just repeating one line, like a little secondary hook, if you will. Which fills in those gaps, so it's kind of a call and response part.
Is my best trade.
And she did so many of those, just so it feels like a crowd is singing to you. And then going on, keep building the energy, she's adding more ha's, and then she does an ad-lib layer, which always gives so much energy to whatever part of the song you're in, honestly. When a song needs a little bit more vocally, I always say, let's hit some ad-libs. Here is some of her isolated ad-libs.
Hello, that's
Hi. Who's Samantha? Oh, Samantha, why'd you have to leave? Why'd you have to leave, Samantha? Hey, I hate ya. No, bitch. So all of that in context is gonna sound like this.
that's damn hard
Clean version.
to swallow.
And then we just end the song the same way that it started, with the acoustic guitars, that rain texture, and the single note drone.
Oh, Samantha, I'd have done anything.
So it's like a nice build, but then it comes back around full circle. So that's how you produce a song like Lizzy McAlpine. It's a modern pop song at its core, but it's got those acoustic guitars and those folky textures and intimate vocals and everything you love in a Lizzy McAlpine song. It makes you feel like you're in a little cabin in the woods in a rainstorm. So what do you think? Did we nail the vibe? Let us know in the comments below, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time I do something. Okay, love you. Bye.